Welcome to BizJet TV. My name is Fabrizio Poli. In today's video, we're going to be talking about cheap private jet travel. But actually, we're not going to be talking about cheap because you can't really do private jet travel cheaply. It's just not on. I mean, there are people out there trying to offer that option, trying to sell you that option. But, you know, and if it does cost that, there's always a catch. The only free cheese is in the mousetrap. And in this case, you could end up flying on an illegal charter, or who knows what's going on. And that could become very, very dangerous. Bear in mind, you know, you're getting into this thing, you're going up to 35,000 feet, you want it to be safe. So I'm going to be going over 5 different points in this episode, lots of interesting content, and you will find at the end of the video that, yeah, it's not cheap, but if you do it in a certain way, there are many benefits, and the investment, the return on your investment is very, very good. So it could end up costing you nothing at the end of it, but you do need to invest some money in the beginning. It's all about how you do this. And that's what we're going to be talking about, focusing in and on in this episode of BizJet TV. So let's get straight into it. If you haven't subscribed to BizJet TV, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Let's get straight into the episode today, and off we go. So here we are in this, post-COVID-19 lockdown world. Lots of people inquiring about private jet travel. Lots of airlines failing. Schedules of airlines being reduced, and more people are afraid of traveling by air. They're doing Zoom calls, video calls instead of going to have face-to-face meetings. But there's still a need to travel by air. And there's more inquiries now about private jet travel, and people are putting the word out that you can do this on the cheap. Now, I've been in aviation a long time. My path in aviation started back in 1984 when I started flying gliders. Then got my private pilot's license at 17 years old in 1986, and then progressed on from there. And I've seen aviation in many parts of the world, from the United States to Canada to the UK to Italy, Switzerland, the Middle East. And I've flown with pilots from 65 different nationalities. I've flown for corporate jet flight departments. I've flown for private jet charter companies. I've flown for a number of different airlines around the world. So, I've seen a lot of sides of aviation and a lot of sides of the private jet space. And I've seen people try to do it on the cheap, and I've seen people crash and die and kill themselves and all sorts of stuff. Flying an airplane has to be done properly, and it has to be done safely. And that costs money. What you have to look at it also is, let's look at these number of points that I want to discuss. So number one, imagine catching the bus. You have to walk 10 minutes from your house or your office to get on the bus with a load of strangers. Now people are aware of viruses more than ever. So getting on a bus with other 100 people, you don't know who these people are. You don't know what type of health condition they're in and whatnot. So what about traveling with a chauffeur-driven car? But obviously a chauffeur-driven car costs a lot more than going by bus. But there are advantages of the chauffeur-driven car. It's your car. You've hired the chauffeur. You've made sure it's clean. You control the car. That's the big thing. You control it. The maintenance. You control the driver. You control how often the car gets cleaned. If you hire a good chauffeur, they'll look after the car for you. But and of course the chauffeur will come and pick you up at your doorstep, take you to your meeting directly without having to walk 10-15 minutes, and you control who's in the car with you. So lots of advantages there. So you've got to look at it from that. But of course, the chauffeur-driven car is more expensive than going by bus. But it is also a lot safer. Now, the second point is you need professional advice. Now, before you adventure out to buy a private jet, and I know today you can go on the internet and go to AvBuyer and controller.com, and there's lots of aeroplanes for sale. But let's face it, you could also go on YouTube and look up how to do heart surgery, or how to, put a filling in your wife's mouth, and be the dentist. But good dentists cost money. Good heart surgeons cost money. Heart surgery is something very serious. So is going to the dentist something very serious. And so it is very serious putting your family or your team in a private jet and shooting up to 45,000 feet for 8 hours. that's serious too. So you need to get professional advice, but professional advice does cost money. Now, you may have seen other episodes here of BizJet TV where I was saying that if you wanted to speak to me one-to-one, the first call was free. The first call is no longer free. We've been inundated by people wanting to do calls, so we're no longer in the position to do a free call here at Kaizen Aerospace. But we're quite happy to get on a call with you and give you advice and then take it from there. So professional advice cost, and it's my advice that you do seek professional advice as far as buying an aircraft. Buying an aircraft is a process. You have to have the right lawyers, you have to have the right engineers, you have to choose the right model of aircraft, and all that. You have to then put the aircraft, register the aircraft in the right location, create a special purpose vehicle company. There's lots of elements, which is why you need to have a professional guide you in this. At least that's my advice. Then it's your money, it's your life. You're getting into the airplane, going up to 35, 45,000 feet, whatever it may be. So really, it's down to you to decide. Point 3 is, private jet travel. As I said, it's not cheap. And if you're going to buy a jet, you've got the purchase cost and you've got the operational cost. You can choose to charter, but of course, if you're going to charter a private jet from Los Angeles to New York, it's going to cost you a lot more than if you fly with Delta or United. So, that's something that needs to be, you need to be aware of. It's not going to be cheap. I mean, private jet charter can cost anywhere from like $1,500 an hour to $20,000 an hour, depending on what you're chartering. But there are also lots of advantages of this. Think the chauffeur-driven car. Point number 4 is as I said, you can start by chartering just to get your feet wet and see how the high private jet works. You'll realise that you can leave from a smaller airport that may be closer to your office or to your home. You can, some places, drive your car up to the airplane and then get on the airplane. Otherwise, just park straight outside the FBO and go through the private jet terminal, which takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and you're on the airplane. You're not going through these terminals with a load of strangers. And I'm being told these days it is taking a long time now to go from the door of the terminal to the actual gate of the airplane, taking up to even 5 to 6 hours now in some airports around the world. You don't get that with private jet travel. So you want to get your feet wet, you can charter. If you haven't quite got the money to buy a jet, another option, and an option we offer here at Kaizen Aerospace, is that to lease an aeroplane for anywhere from 3 to 36 months. The advantages of leasing an aeroplane is it's available for you exclusively 24/7, and you don't have to outlay the cost of buying the airplane. So this is a, let's say, less of an investment than that of acquiring the jet. And it's something that may work for you, at least initially. At least you have the tool of the private jet, which can allow you to grow your business exponentially. The next point I'd like to talk about is private jet travel is actually tax deductible. If we take the case of Grant Cardone, and if you don't know who Grant is, you can click on this video interview I did with Grant a few months ago. And Grant, in a very clever fashion, what he does, every time he has to go away on business, he uses his Gulfstream G550, he takes his team with him, but above all, he takes his wife and his children with him as well. Because let's face it, if you're flying from Miami, where Grant's based, to London, whether you have 8 people on board or whether you have 2 people on board, the cost is pretty much the same. Yes, you're going to have an extra fee for each passenger, but you're talking $20, $30. You're not talking thousands of dollars. If you were flying with the airlines, you wanted to take more people with you, you're going to have to spend another $10,000, $15,000 per ticket. But on the private jet, you can take your family with you, and the cost of the flight is tax deductible as long as you're going to wherever you're going on business. Grant does another thing which is very clever. When he gets the other end, very often instead of staying in a hotel, he rents an apartment or a house, and again, that's tax deductible. So that's the way you have to look at it. And also the acquisition of the aircraft can be tax deductible if you're buying it for business or buying it as a business. So those are things you have to look at as well. And so generally speaking, yes, the private jet is expensive. You can't do it on the cheap. But, depending on what tax jurisdiction you're in and how you use the airplane, it can turn into a money-making machine if you're using it as a business tool. And so the cost of $25 million to acquire the aircraft and maybe $6 million to operate it a year, you're going to get that back in year 1, as Grant tells the story. because you're going to go out and do deals for $100 million with the jet, which you couldn't have done if you didn't have the jet. So now you've recouped the 25 million you spent with the jet and the 6 million that it costs you to fly the 250, 300 hours a year that you're flying. So that's really the way to look at it. So if you're trying to come in this whole private jet thing on the cheap, you're either not getting professional advice or you're getting very bad advice. The whole private jet thing needs to be looked at holistically, as I like to call it. So it's not just the airplane, it's the maintenance, it's the pilots, it's what you do with the airplane, how you use the airplane. Have you got a flight attendant on board? I mean, let's take, for example, let's say you send your jet out to pick a client up to bring them into Miami to see you. If you have a flight attendant on board that's going to prepare a really nice meal for your guests, it's just going to make the private jet experience a lot more better for them. And so the chances of you doing the deal when they eventually get to your office in Miami have increased exponentially because you've got this service on board. It's not just I'm sending the plane with the pilots on board. So, the flight attendant costs money. That extra catering is going to cost money, but don't look at it as a cost. Look at it as an investment. And that's really the way to approach this, is from an investment perspective. And as I said in the very beginning, you need professional advice to do this. So if you'd like to talk to me and my team at Kaizen Aerospace, you can visit our website and ping us a message and we'll schedule you in. If you haven't subscribed to BizJet TV, there's a lot of information here about private aviation and private jets, and I do recommend that you do your homework before you start doing any calls with anybody, just to give yourself a bit of an idea of what you're getting yourself into. And there's lots of content on here, so please subscribe to this channel and comment below. We love to hear from you, love to see what you think or any suggestions that you may have, and gives us a thumbs up as well. That helps the channel grow in popularity and get the word out that the private jet is a business tool. And that's all from Fabrizio Poli on BizJet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.